call. Committee Chair Fagin.
Here.
Commission Chair Balbag.
Here.
Commissioner Dunham.
Here.
Commissioner Silloway.
Here.
Commissioner Anderson. Absent. Commissioner Lansberg.
Here.
Commissioner Wilson.
Here.
Commissioner Benoit is excused tonight, and Commissioner Pike.
Here.
All right, I think I got everyone. So, welcome, Marian. I think since it's a smaller group, I think we should just go ahead and do a round of introductions, if that's okay. So, Marian, you know me. I've been speaking with you over the last couple months. I'm Laura Becker. I'm the Arts Program Manager. And then I'm going to pass the baton to Shelley.
I'm Shelley Fagin. I'm a visual artist and I'm the current chair of the Public Arts Committee. Shall we go to Shoshanna Lansberg?
Sure. Hi, I'm Shoshanna Lansberg, and I'm a writer and jewelry maker. Go, Peg.
Okay. I'm Peg Silloway. I'm a weaver and spinner, and I am still learning a great deal of my first term on the Arts Commission. And I'll pass it on to Sue Pike.
I'm more of a community volunteer with everybody around. I'm not an artist, but I'm in the community and I was raised here.
Who's left to go? We haven't
I
got
would say go Gina.
I'm a visual artist and I also work in clay. And go ahead, Sharon.
Hi, I'm Sharon Dunham, and I have been on the commission for maybe 3 years and also on the Beaverton Committee for Community Involvement. I'm a glass artist, predominantly warm glass, and I'm on a board of a nonprofit gallery that's been in existence since 1963.
Lynn might be our last commissioner. Lynn, would you mind introducing yourself?
I don't mind at all. Hi, everybody. So I'm Lynn Francis Anderson. I am a singer, songwriter, guitar player, musician, composer, producer person. I also do some photography. And this is my year 2 on the commission.
Did I miss someone? I'm so sorry if I did.
Alison.
Okay.
I'm Marian. It's nice to meet you. I'm Alison Balbag, and I'm chair for the Beaverton Arts Commission.
Should I go too? I'm Marian. Hi, I'm Marian. I'm super excited to be here. I am a project manager at SeeSee Motor Coffee. I'm an event producer with the One Motorcycle Show, and I also work with a bunch of other restaurants and hospitality brands in the Portland area. I also love to paint. I love to sing. I draw and I cook. Those are my kind of outlets as well. And actually, a really fun fact I was telling Laura, I'm born and raised Beaverton, Oregon. My dad's family grew up on like Tucker and Fifth. They lived in 2 different houses on Tucker over there. And so all of his siblings and my dad worked at Beaverton Bakery at times in their high school careers. My dad was a clown. He washed dishes. My aunt decorated cakes. Like when I went to go study hospitality, I did an informational interview with Carrie Ann Schubert. And so working on this project with the Magners and Guggenheim has been pretty incredible. So I'm very excited to be here.
So Marian, I have made you a co-host. So if you would like to just share your presentation.
Yeah.
If you're ready, that is.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Let me find out which. It always takes a second. Okay, cool. Can you guys see my screen now?
Affirmative.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'll kind of run through it. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the SeeSee brand, but just like a brief overview of who we are and what we do. SeeSee began in 2008, and our founder, Tor Drake, kind of created it out of a big feeling and need to find inclusivity within the motorcycle community. So like back in 2008, it was all choppers and studs and flames and skulls. And I think that kind of stuff still has a place in SeeSee, but it's still also women and young artists and a whole range of people that all kind of vibe with this community. And so our logo of the smiley face has been our tried and true of kind of creating an always welcoming community. And so it's really exciting to be opening up our fourth cafe. We opened 2 last summer in Newburgh and St. John's, and then the original one is in Northeast Portland. And so with this Beaverton location, we're incredibly excited. I mean, I know a lot about the neighborhood, so selfishly, I'm very excited, but this is something that I think along with the other businesses that are joining the bakery block are kind of looking to anchor that corner and some cool ways to bring people out to that part of Beaverton, not even just the downtown part that I imagine on the other side of Farmington, but also that kind of like original strip on Broadway. So here's just a mock-up of what the exterior looks like. It's coming along, and our current timeline is to open most likely in late January or early February of next year. And so, of course, this kind of presentation is an overview of some of the murals that we're proposing along with our build out. So, of course, the front of the building is kind of standard with the signage and traditional window decals. And then we have 2 other walls to really make use of and add art to. So the first would be the side of the building, which has something that was applied that we want to talk about a little bit today. And then the back of the building has another opportunity to kind of add another artist to the mix and the kind of community building that we want to do with what we're proposing. So just as an overview, this is kind of the first artistic element that we're looking at for the side of the building. We work with an agency in Portland at Camp Grizzly, and so the artist is Ty, who we worked closely with before. But one of our big pieces and core elements of building out this cafe was to grow our reach and grow our community to people who, in our kind of mind, feel a little bit underserved in a sense. There is a great automobile industry out there and people love cars. And I think people who love SeeSee are not just motorcyclists. They are people who love to get around, to go from point A to point B, to find a destination, whatever that thing might be. And so on top of our kind of existing concept there and what we typically do, we want to grow and really be one with the community around us and knowing that area and that kind of history there. I mean, there's elements of it with Car Auto Group, I know from way back, but we work really closely with Bob Lamphere and their organization, and we're actually working to add a car element to the One Motorcycle Show as well. And so working with them, knowing their family's history in the Beaverton area and kind of all of that, that's kind of the inspiration and narrative that we're taking with this element. Along with that too, we do want to continue to promote events and things like that around car culture and show and shines and other things along those lines. And then the second piece would be along that back alleyway behind the building. This doesn't really do justice to what that wall looks like, but we have been trying to find an artist to work with us that would help add another kind of public art element to the building. I think art is something that is so true to the SeeSee core, again, being founded by someone who defines himself as more of an artist and a tinkerer than just a motorcyclist. And so we have reached out to a friend of the brand. His name is Bryce Wong. He is a shoe designer at Nike. He's the lead designer for Nike skateboarding, their ACG, like lifestyle outdoor brand. And then he also oversees some of the shoe collaborations that they do. Those collaborations range from like Grateful Dead to Dornbecker's Children's Hospital. So his way of kind of collaborating within his style has been pretty cool to see. And so he has agreed to do the concept, but we don't have a concept just yet as to what we would put on the building. I shared with him a lot of the information that Laura passed on, historical references of imagery, and some of the details around the vision and mission and kind of those elements for community development, especially in the downtown neighborhood. But I did include some of his artwork to kind of show you guys an idea of what he does. So what he typically does is pretty cool. He works with really familiar art or icons, things that are historical, things that are pop culture related, things that you've seen before. It is simple and bold, typically black and white with pops of color. But what he typically does too is he warps and does evolution and either distresses or collages or just pivots it just slightly in a very simple and really impactful way. And it's a style that I think we really love with SeeSee, because one of our kind of internal values is making the most out of a little. And so no matter what you do, it doesn't have to be horribly complicated, but there's so much power in the simplicity at times. And so that's one of the elements that we think he could really bring to that corner. I think he ties in a bit of the Beaverton community, of course, with sneaker culture and expands some of the reach and I think grows some of the reach of all the businesses to bring more people out. He has a huge following, which I mean isn't everything, but definitely helps to grow the exposure for, I mean, us, but also the area. I know that people are already talking like I have to go out to the SeeSee Beaverton and kind of tying it all together. And so I think there's a lot of really cool forward momentum about allowing an artist like Bryce to potentially do this project and kind of bring people that way and kind of encouraging, I guess, more accessibility in the arts at kind of in the same sense. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I guess at this point we can open it up to questions if you guys want to talk about either one, elements or anything in detail. I'm here.
Marian, could you just share a little bit about that from what you know of timeline to completion of at least the exterior elements that we're sharing with the Arts Commission?
Yes, so the one on the side of the building has already gone up. There was a little bit of a miscommunication around what exterior paintwork needed to be done by our fabricators and the painters. And so due to weather, they just kind of did it in a week. And so that went up quicker than we really anticipated. So that has already been applied. And then as for the back of the building, Bryce is still working on a concept, of course, and that's dependent on approval and conversations with you all, of course. But I think that we would probably wait until closer to the opening in January or February for him to do that mural application, just for the sake of weather. Again, it's an uncovered side of the building, and it almost, I think, would bring, we even discussed, like, is there a live art element to it? Like, is there something more engaging around the creation of that mural that doesn't just happen prior to the opening?
And then the other question that I have, I don't know, some of the commissioners may have, is about maintenance and what the plan is. And I guess the bigger question is, did you think about maintenance in the designs or like the future designs? Is that something that you're considering?
Yeah, definitely. I would say that all, I guess 2 of the 3 locations that we currently have are white buildings with black elements. The Sandy location and the Newburgh location. Our Newburgh location has a somewhat similar mural, but again, identifies mostly with that community being Newburgh as opposed to Beaverton, but it's a black and white mural. I think, I don't know for sure about the Bryce concept. I discussed it with him, but knowing how his art typically is, it would most likely be black, white, and hits of other more primary colors. So nothing too, I think, complex in that sense of maintenance. And then applying what they can to protect from weather. That's pretty standard with the sign painters, and then what Bryce would apply as well.
And then I guess this is something that I talked to you about, but who are your neighbors, and have they talked to you, or have you shared the plans with them? Kind of what is that relationship like?
Definitely. We've been working really closely with the block, of course. So with Guggenheim, kind of at the helm, they've been working closely with the Magners and the Miracle Sign Company through the development. And so we are close with Binary and have been sharing plans all along the way. So in terms of those neighbors, we've kind of created this plan together, and they're very much overseeing it as one development piece to complement one another, and in no way like compete or I don't know, anything like that. We haven't spoken to any other murals on the other neighbors on the backside or on the side about the additional mural just yet.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I have a question. It's a very interesting image. And to my mind, the first thing that comes up is, ooh, I've got some coloring I can do. Have you had any issues with the other locations where people want to fill in the colors?
No, surprisingly, never. That's a really good.
That's
that's a
the
really
first thing
good
that comes to
point.
mind. I think, oh, it's spray painted.
Yeah, I mean, I would say for our Sandy location, that location does get tagged with graffiti because of the neighborhood, and sometimes, but it isn't typically over our existing graphics. We have, I believe it's a few like taglines and some smiley applications and things like that that are in black on the white building. But I would say people love seeing a blank white building and tagging that regardless of if there's something on it or not. So I think it's the white building that would pull people towards it, if anything. But we are quick, of course, to cover that up and maintain if needed.
It just seemed to be the next logical step for
Yeah.
some people.
Yeah.
Marian, could you talk to me a little bit more about, since I don't know SeeSee at all, and so it begins as a kind of way of wanting to have a place where people who are not typically motorcycle people could gather and feel comfortable, is what I feel like you're saying. You're kind of expanding that in trying to include other modes of transportation. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. So I think a perfect example of it is actually the One Motorcycle Show, which is a motorcycle show that happened the same year that SeeSee started. SeeSee started as a motorcycle gear shop where he served popcorn and drip coffee just because he wanted people to come hang out and stay a little bit longer. So it was less about creating a retail space or a cafe space where they were going to sell a bunch of coffee and make all this money. It was more about bringing people in to find smaller brands that aren't usually given the platform that they deserve, or, you know, like kind of showcasing things in a different way. And so what they kind of quickly learned, and again, we didn't grow, they had a SeeSee in Reno that they ended up closing, but SeeSee didn't grow very much for the first 10 years of its business. It kind of just grew itself. And it was very much born as a family business. So the founder, his wife's sister, and his business partner were kind of this core group of people who brought and lived the brand out in the most genuine of senses of always inviting people in, never making people feel excluded, and then welcoming any type of bike people. We're doing a skateboard collaboration. We've done sponsorships with cycling teams, like all are welcome. And really what Tor, our founder, always says is that it's not only for people who like bikes, it's if you're bike curious, if you think bikes are cool, if you have any sort of appreciation for art, the art of the machine, like the directions that it goes feels endless. And I think it's pretty typical to see people who are at the SeeSee in Portland who, I mean, I've never ridden on a motorcycle. I've been on an electric motorcycle once, but the kind of culture that it creates and the kind of conversations, the people that it draws in, it's just like a pleasant place where people really feel attracted to the I guess the like authenticity of it. And so that's kind of continued. And as it's grown, we've also seen car culture support that and be something we can support as well. So we've had car shows, we've had van shows where people just come on the weekend to hang out and see each other's like different vehicles, even if they're completely different styles.
So the SeeSee is in someplace, is that someplace I would go to buy a motorcycle?
So we don't sell actual motorcycles, but it's everything but. So you can buy all of your gear, your helmet, your jackets, all of that kind of stuff. You could buy oil, you could buy parts. We can special order parts for anyone if they need it. But motorcycles themselves, that's why we do have partners like the Lansberg family or other manufacturers that we really support. And also we support all of them. We support electric bikes. We support Harley Davidson. We support vintage dirt bikes, anything in between.
And if I have my bicycle, would you have equipment in there for my bicycle, or is pretty much it's motorcycles?
We're actually working on bringing back, we did a bunch of bike stuff before of like cycling jerseys. And so we'll of course have bike racks outside, and then gear, I mean, some gear, but maybe not all the gear that you would need for an actual, for a regular bicycle.
I see. And then really what it is there's a place in there where I can sit and have coffee, and just, there's also a place of community.
Exactly.
area. Okay.
Exactly. And that's one of the cool things about the cafe too, is that we'll do art shows there. We do an annual 21 helmets show where typically a helmet sponsor will come in, but we'll do 21 helmets and have different varieties of people come and do these cool, really creative art projects, essentially. And for the 2021 motorcycle show, we engaged with Portland Public Schools and did a helmet show with them, and did like a SeeSee scholarship for high school students who are wanting to pursue the arts. That's something that's come up in terms of Beaverton High School, like how can we engage with our neighbor down the street? And so we'll do art shows, we'll do art showcases, we'll do makers markets. That's a really big thing for us too, because everyone who kind of helped build the brand and who's part of it, most of the time, like our baristas will use the cafes to do underage shows, so everyone's welcome. Like there's a lot of inclusivity in the different kind of programming we want to bring into.
So there's not like a SeeSee brand, is there a SeeSee brand of helmet?
No, there's
No.
not a CC
So-
brand, but we do
right.
give you a sticker if you buy one.
So you're really kind of, you represent a lot of different companies that are doing all kinds of things, and you're kind of an art advocate in increasing creativity around this whole area of motorcycling and seeing it as being a bigger thing than the Hell's Angel image.
Yes, exactly. Where if you, I mean, Hell's Angels, you can still come have a coffee.
We love them
but-
too. Yeah.
Exactly. I think there's just there's no reason to discriminate against the style of cyclists, whether it's a bike or a motorcycle, or if they skateboard or if they walk, like whatever, like come on in, hang out, you can kind of see some cool stuff. So yeah, definitely not too selective in either way.
Okay. And like the truck that you have there, that's just also encouraging kind of a way of saying, you know, people who just enjoy movement, you know?
Yeah,
totally.
I think one thing we always talk about is how with the different cafes now having more than one, can we do a ride where you go to all of them? Is the cafe in Newburgh a destination for someone in Portland? Is it vice versa for someone coming from Newburgh and going to Beaverton, or however those things work? Is it somewhere you stop on the way heading to a different location, like kind of just becoming part of the way you move and the way you kind of interact with everything, kind of connection point. I think that's really the biggest part, a hub for our community, in whatever version that becomes for who you are.
Well, what you're selling is all basically motorcycle stuff, not car things, or it's just that whole idea of transportation that's kind of fun.
Yeah, totally. Viva, they always say Viva 2 wheels, and they're like, well, also 4 wheels too.
I think, Sharon, you had your hand raised. So I want to give you a chance to speak.
Yes, thanks. I just had a quick question. I'm looking at the schematic and the back of the building and trying to envision what is back there. Is that kind of a blank space? Is that paved over? Is it what?
Yeah, let me go back to this one, a little bit bigger. It's a paved alleyway that goes back towards the backside of the old movie theater where Miracle Sign is. And so there is one big window right there. And so that's been already acknowledged by Bryce too, of like, how do you incorporate that piece of the wall? And then it kind of juts back again. And I think that's where it would stop in terms of the scope, because it's definitely a large wall that continues all the way back, but I don't think it connects because it kind of juts back as you go towards that house, the backside of the house.
I'd have to go down and actually see it, but I don't know if you've been in contact with Kevin Teeter. I'm associated with the Downtown Beaverton Association, the Economic Vitality and the Design Group. I go kind of in and out of there, and we're looking at pocket parks, put in and also at bike racks. So it would be great to get in touch with him and with the committee to see about other ways to enhance that as community space.
Mhm.
In addition to, and really, right there with the mural, which would be fantastic.
Yeah.
So I just don't know what it looks like without going down for, like a site visit myself.
Yeah, I was thinking I might be able just to email it to all the people who are on the call today, but I was going to send over this slide deck just as a reference point for you guys too. So I can include a photo that I have just from my cell phone of what that back wall looks like in the area around it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I also just wanted to add, and I think it is important that this project has been funded by the Storefronts Improvement Grant Program with the city. So the city is helping to do a lot of these improvements, and I just wanted to make sure that you knew that.
So is the car image facing the bank?
No, actually, it's facing with that empty lot that's on the corner of East and Broadway.
Yeah.
And it looks, I mean, I would also say in this mock-up, it looks very large and wide, but it is it fills the kind of sidewall space that kind of lands behind that tree.
It is right by the bike rack that was relocated. The original site for that bike rack that's like kind of what was in front of this wall. Any other questions, commissioners?
Yeah, I have a question. I really love the playfulness of the image that you're showing us right now. I really like that a lot. I'm just wondering, and I know he hasn't, your artist hasn't shown us any sort of mock-up yet, but I would love to see something. To me, that image is very masculine, and it'd be really great if we could see something that had more of a feminine element to it. I'm not saying that it's bad necessarily, but to me, it's a very masculine sort of image, and maybe that's my own preconceived notions, I will admit. But it would be really cool if we could have something that had like a woman riding a bike or whatever, just something that really incorporates that would make me feel like cool. Like I really would feel welcome then, Yeah, and I saw that in the images that you had shared of his previous work. He does take some women's imagery and turns on its head a little bit. So there's some interesting stuff in there, but I don't know. I'm not saying it has to be exactly that. Absolutely not. But it just would be nice if we could see something because to me, it's very masculine sort of image.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of that is a feedback that I consistently have for SeeSee, is to continue to be inclusive, not just of all types and ways, but also all people and where they come from and the way they identify. And so that's definitely a great piece of feedback to bring back to Bryce.
Yeah, I think that this is Lynn. I think, it's a good point to have been made, is that broader inclusivity, right? Because when I see a truck like that, it gives a particular vibe, and that vibe is not inclusive of all kinds of people. And whether that, even though the little man driving the truck looks like a little happy face, there's a lot about that image that looks exclusive to a particular group of people. So just some thoughts around that. So I agree with what was said earlier, and would broaden that actually.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I would say if there are any thoughts, I mean, even the concept, this is one thing that me and Bryce talked about, and I wasn't sure in terms of color versus no color, or if there's any thoughts either way of like feedback as he does develop a concept. I think inclusivity is one thing we really, really talked about when talking about his opportunity, and like the concept of it being truly a public art piece that can help encourage and make a statement and impact in whatever way or direction it becomes. But is there any other feedback in terms of, I guess, color versus no color was one big question I had.
So I'll just continue on the same path. So because I'm looking at this picture of the truck, the color versus no color to me is a style determined by the artist, from my perspective. However, an interesting thing that you bring up with the color versus no color, and we're talking about really diversity, inclusion, right?
Mhm.
And there's a lot of things that could be done to, maybe like others said, different kinds of people riding a bike or a motorcycle or whatever it is. I know it's not hip to have people in the back of a truck, but it is kind of fun. um, and you know there could be something where if there's an image that has multiple little characters, maybe those little characters could be, multi-dimensional. I don't know how else to put it, but maybe there could be something that represents a particular ethnic group, or a sexual orientation, or male, female, or non-binary, that kind of thing, where you're really actually showing like that kind of thing. Because even if you look at this little character here, it does kind of, everything about it does look sort of male, even though it's a little figure. So things like that might be interesting to toy with and see what comes of it.
Okay.
Any other feedback right now? So I think what I was hoping for today was, so I just wanted to give a little bit more background. So Marian, this SeeSee has been working with the Storefronts Improvement Program. There is the sign code is very finicky. So signage is like, one thing, and it means that like on any elevation, you can have basically like 30% of that elevation as a sign. And so this was, I think, initially thought of as signage, but in a creative way. And so, I think that if it's larger than what would be allowed by the percentage. And so I think what I said was, well, it could be, it could be read as a mural. So why don't we take this to the Arts Commission and allow them to offer their feedback, but then also kind of get in front of them before the commissioning of another artist and development of another design, so that they can be more engaged in that process. So I just wanted to give you that background. And I definitely wanted Marian and the project to kind of get on the right track. So I guess I just wanted to give you that background and let you know that that is why I've asked her to kind of package these as one, because we're kind of playing a little bit of a catch-up game here.
Well, I think a lot of my questions had centered around understanding whether this would be signage or not, trying to understand what your business was about, and what how the imagery related to your business. It is as we say, a finicky issue.
So Marian, I don't know if you want to speak to it. So the logo of SeeSee is the smiley face, and it doesn't necessarily, it's not in a caricature like this. So it's just a little bit of a departure, a creative departure from their standard logo. And the logo element is, if you were to just take the singular like logo element and consider it on its own, I think that it would be probably less than 30%. And so it's just a little bit of a gray area. And I think that it's more than just signage. So I feel like it can be interpreted, and it would be interpreted as a mural, though I don't know if anyone coming to, unless they know the business and they know what SeeSee is all about, they're not going to look at that and say, that's SeeSee.
Yeah.
So did somebody start to talk? I'm sorry. No?
So I'm a little bit confused about when you are talking about hitting the 30% in the signage versus mural and all of that. Does that necessitate it going before Planning Commission at all?
No.
Okay, good. Because that would be sticky.
You know, Marian, it used to be that if you wanted to put a mural on your building in Beaverton, it had to go through signage. There was no art. And it was a big haul to get murals separated from signage. And so that's that allowing murals just to be art, you know, and wanting art in our community was a big haul. So I guess I don't want you to think we're very picky about it. It was just a big process for us to get it to be separate. So that's why everybody's pausing and
No, I understand.
So I think that the question I think in front of us is, can we bless this as a mural, or would you recommend any alterations to the mural? I mean, then it would have to go back to the artist and have their consent to make those changes. Like they would have to make those changes.
I could bless it this way. I think it's very playful. It engages a different group of people in the community, which is something that we are trying to engage everyone. And having a happy face could be anybody. Someone, it looks like someone having a ball in a truck. I like it.
I find it more androgynous than masculine, I suppose, when I look at it. And especially since that's your branding, that's your logo, the smiley face is SeeSee. So understanding that kind of pushes it through to more of a, more of a neutral, for me anyway. And I do like the playfulness. And I do like the point that Marian made at the beginning, which is, for the community of, bikers of all types and all sorts of alternative transportation, that kind of thing, is to give, give a place and a space for people.
I want to just chime in really fast too to say that this is not the last time. I mean, we will have Marian back to share the proposal for this mural with Bryce Wong. So you'll get to see that. It's not like we're blessing this and then they can just go forth. That will come back to the Public Art Committee as it develops. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that.
I think I have to agree with the folks who are saying that it is a male-ish image. And that's only because, and this is probably where I'm showing the pardon the expression, the old fart in me. I see that and I hear vroom, 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 and I see our squealing tires and see beer cans being thrown out. And I'll grant you that is very, very negative, and that's my problem, not yours. But I see good old boys. And I think it's just because of that particular image. If we're looking at something that's going to have more than just that image eventually, which I think I'm hearing, that there will be more images than just that, that's fine. And perhaps the only benefit of this is giving you a reaction of somebody who is not at the target market age, okay? It's the gentlest way I can put it. I like the image. I think it is playful, and I think playful is good. And I'm hoping that there will be other images that are not about pickup trucks and so forth.
So Peg, let me ask you this.
Sure.
Is it not so much the smiley face as it is the vehicle? That,
yes, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the image of bouncing and roaring and speeding. Yeah, the smiley face, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, it could be anything. It's the vehicle.
Right.
And I'm
Okay.
not saying that's a bad thing. That is a fair representation of part of the society. But from what I've heard, I want to go down and see this place, and I want to go check it out. And and I might get that far and say, okay, maybe not for me. But again, this is I'm giving you an opinion from an advanced position. So
I think what I'm hearing is that just maybe a consideration of balance with the development of a new mural, to have something maybe that has a like more feminine edge, that's a little bit like shows more inclusivity.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm hearing from the group. Is that an accurate generalization?
Yeah.
just for me, yeah.
Marian, do you feel like that's helpful,
Yeah.
productive feedback for you and Bryce?
Yeah, I think definitely. I would also say that it echoes some of my sentiment, and one of the pieces that I would like to add to it as someone working on the project. So I appreciate the feedback, and definitely will carry it forward and keep that in as part of the conversation as Bryce develops the next piece. I have no idea what he's going to do, but I'm excited to show it to you guys nonetheless. But yeah, that makes sense. I think balance, and when you see one element, you will see the other, and I think a bit of a contrast as well would be welcomed and a cool experience to have.
And although I kind of like this idea of a black and white mural, I mean, that's kind of interesting to me, but that's also part of you. You know, that's also part, in some ways, it relates to signage to me, being black and white, because that's your motif, you know? So which I don't know what I make of that, you know,
Yeah, I would agree with the black and white, because there's the checker flag kind of look to it.
The one thing I will say is that it makes it, unless you're doing like just flat color, I mean, it makes it easier to maintain. So that would be my advice for anybody that's doing a mural that they have to maintain, is make sure that it can be easily repaired, painted, if somebody does come and tag it. So in that regard, I think that it is an easy to maintain mural surface.
Well, and as a visual artist, I kind of like the idea of it being black and white, because it leaves it to your imagination. It could be a pink chalk. It could be a purple chalk. So I like it. It could be a convertible with a smiley face person in there. Who knows? If you want to change up the vehicle.
I'm looking forward to just seeing what Bryce comes up with, just based on the like work samples that I've seen. He's obviously very talented. I really liked the piece of the is it the Venus? Yeah, I love
stuff with like almost like there's like an animaniac popping out of someone's head, but like stuff with like the balance and duality. It's fairly interesting, and so I'll also send over his information if you want to look at any of his work.
Okay, great. Well, I think that that is all we really have time for, and I think that we've given Marian some good content to go back to Bryce with, and then I will just expect that we would have Marian come back with a design. We I don't know, Marian, if you know yet when Bryce would be delivering a design. We typically don't meet, our commission doesn't meet in December. If we need to have a public art committee meeting, I think it might get a little tricky with the holidays, and we might just want to aim for the first part of January.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure that you know that we need to lay eyes on it before it goes to the county for easements. Like that needs to happen. So, and remember that's a 2-week period. So I just want to let you know that. And if you feel like we do need to meet in December, maybe we can touch base after this meeting and find kind of a good time that's not going to get into the impact zone with the holidays.
Yeah, I think January is fine, especially with our timeline. It is non-essential to the business opening. And again, with the way that business construction goes, especially in a pandemic, it is likely that late January turns into February and whatever that time frame is. And so I would hate to base it off of a target opening date and not know if that's set in stone truly. So January sounds great, and I can let Bryce know and so that he can deliver at that point too. And then we can go through the process as needed.
And then whenever you do your like a ribbon cutting or official grand opening, if there's a celebration, I would love to share that information with all of our commissioners so that they can come and check it out.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And as just a quick mention and a plug, the One Motorcycle Show is in April, and it is a bike show at the core, but we have over 100 artists who show as well, and it goes from sculptural to paint to photography to all sorts of kind of beautiful work that Eva's done on like the gas tank, and then there'll be cars, and there's kind of a whole range of art and application. So I'll definitely send that info as we get closer, because I do think you guys will find it incredibly interesting and cool.
And is it at Zidell Yards again?
Yeah, so we do it at the Zidell Yards. We use the barge building as kind of an ode to that industrial culture, but that building is the perfect backdrop and a really safe place given the pandemic as well. So I can share details on that too.
Great.
Are you talking South Waterfront?
So we do it at the South Waterfront. We work with the Zidell family there.
Okay. I think the Blues Festival was down there.
And so we actually will be taking the whole gravel lot, and that's typically where people do like the movies and events is on the gravel lot. But of course, we make it the hardest on ourselves, and we go into the barge building that they don't do anything in, and we turn it into an event space for over 15,000 people. So it's a pretty big one.
Wow. Very cool.
Cool. Well, thank you guys so much. I guess we will talk soon.
Thank you, Marian. I'll be back in touch with you.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for sharing some time tonight.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Anything that you felt shy about saying that you want to say so that I can pass it on? No? Okay. All right. Well, I will say that I ride motorcycles, so admittedly I'm biased, but I didn't start riding motorcycles until I went to the One Moto show, and it's chock full of art, not just like the bikes themselves as art, but there's like 2D artwork. There's a whole collection of helmets that they have a contest for. I mean, it's really amazing, an amazing event. So even if you don't ride, it's enjoyable, and it is a lot of people. So
I guess the only thing I would add is that we are so happy they're there. I mean, they're a whole different kind of community attitude that is just wonderful to have in that area. So we would want them to feel like we're excited about them being there. You know, if they just didn't put a smiley face on the other one, then all would be good, you know?
I think they know that now. I think that they made it, I mean, I think that they admitted that they made a misstep, and they were really just kind of like trying to get ahead because of weather. And they were like, oh, we can just do this really fast. And they didn't know the process. And unfortunately they were kind of steered wrong. So once it got on my radar, I'm like, whoa. Let's just right the ship.
Yeah,
so,
we'll just let them know we're happy they're there, even though they've made a mistake. We're real excited about them. I guess that's.
I will pass that along.
They know.
Marian's been great to work with. So.
Yeah, she seems cool.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're gonna put that agenda item to rest. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is I just wanted to give you an update about. So we had the Studio KCA contract amendment on the agenda for City Council last night. So we had both the contract amendment, and then the intergovernmental agreement between BIRA and the city, which basically allows for a transfer of funds from BIRA to the city to supplement the contract that we currently have with Studio KCA. So BIRA approved the intergovernmental agreement, and then there was a supplemental budget item that was approved. That's part of that funding, so that's great. And then the contract amendment was also approved, as well as the city council approving the IGA as well. So we are full steam ahead. And so I'm going to be issuing the amended contract to Studio KCA. And then we will be looking at, I will be sharing with you their designs for the Crescent Hall connection for that intersection mid-December. So if we do want to meet in December, it's just going to get really tricky. I might just have to give you the update the beginning of January. So, but they will be sharing the designs. What I might do, I'm just thinking about this. I think what might be good to do is I can send out their designs to you, and you'll have the holidays to look it over. And then we convene first part of January and talk about the designs. If that seems okay. Okay, I'm hearing no grief about that, so okay, good.
Sounds good.
Well, it was the omnibus. That's what I call it. It was quite a package of agenda bills, and it was me and Liz Jones from community development working on the presentation together, and it was a heavy lift, and one that had to happen in a really quick way. So thank you for coming along with me, and I'm really excited. I think it's encouraging that BIRA is willing to step up with funds for this, and I know that Studio KCA has some really amazing, I don't know, it is going to completely change your experience of that space, that intersection, the way that you approach that the Center for the Arts. So I can't wait to see what they actually commit to in terms of their proposal, and sharing it with you. So to be continued. And then the next thing that I want to talk about is so in our regular BAC meeting, not this previous one, but the one before, there was a lot of robust conversation about vinyl wraps. And so I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about that. So I think you all heard what I had to say about the reasons for halting the vinyl wraps on the trash cans. So the trash cans are not a viable option. And I think what I would like to do is just use this, like, kind of spitball some ideas for kind of canvases that we could consider. And I have an idea that I would like to do, like a series every year that has maybe a central theme, and we have multiple artists work on it, but that it's really kind of centralized, like very condensed in one area. So you see it, you feel it. It has a bit more power because it's maybe a bit more concentrated and less diffuse. And I would rather kind of start small and focused and do it really, really well, and then kind of go out from there. So that's the first thing. So something kind of came to, I had like a light bulb moment when we were having the meeting, and Councillor Hassan last night, and Councillor Hassan had, she asked about, like, well, couldn't you do some kind of temporary intervention with the jersey barriers that are at Crescent and Hall, because those have to stay. And they have been painted already, so that's, they've been cleaned up and they look a lot better. But I had that, the light bulb moment I had is that maybe we could use those for vinyl application. So vinyl adhesive or wheat paste. So wheat paste is a very inexpensive application, and it's literally just wheat paste and water. So there's no, it's you don't have to deal with the supply chain issues that we're having with the vinyl. It's just, there's no toxicity to it. There's like, just, it's a probably easier material, but it does look a little bit more raw. I don't know how else to describe it. It looks a little bit more street art. And then the vinyl, I would need to see if we could do that even on the Jersey barriers and whether it would stay. So that is something that I want to check into, but I first wanted to kind of do a temperature check with you all to see if that would even be interesting.
Does the city have a spare Jersey barrier to use as a
Trial?
As a trial? Yeah,
I'm sure we do.
that
I
might
don't
be
love
good.
the idea. I have to say, it brings back memories of doing the mural in the middle of the street. I feel like it's something that is a distraction for drivers. I'd rather see something where it was a walkable surface where people could stop and admire it more rather than just drive past it. My 2 cents.
That's great.
I'm wondering about the people who are requiring Jersey barriers there. Would they be okay with that? Or would that be somehow exactly what Shelley's saying, more of a distraction where you're aiming for the barriers instead of going past them?
I think our traffic engineer did weigh in at the beginning when they were just talking about the improvements to that intersection, and they were talking about possibly doing murals, and they steered away from it because it's a narrow lane, and so what happens is you get big trucks and they roll by there and their tires scuff the side of the Jersey barrier, and so then you have this mural that you've got to paint over, and then it never looks right and never looks the same, and so we went away from that. But Jabra, who is our city traffic engineer, he didn't throw up any flags in terms of distraction for drivers. There was nothing that, I think if you were to raise something off of the top of it where you can't really see the site clearance is an issue, that would be, and that's why we had to do a setback at that corner. But I don't think we can't do it. I think it's just deciding whether it has high impact. I think we have to choose where we invest our money wisely, because we are going to really, I have to just be honest with you, we have to fight for what we're going to get. It's going to be a tough budget year. So I want to be really thoughtful and smart about where we dedicate funds. But I really feel like there's a lot of energy behind this. So I want to support this idea of having like vinyl adhesives or wraps or whatever. So I just want to do something really quickly. I want to show you, I put together just a few slides. Let's see here if I can find it. Okay, so this is, I was just thinking about other surfaces that we could address. And this is the pump house. So we already have a plan for a mural at this location. And I'm wondering, do we just commit to doing a series of vinyl adhesive murals at this location so that it would be constantly rotating out? I think do one for a year and then it changes out and it's a new one. So that was an idea that I had. We don't have to do that, but it was just something that occurred to me, oh, it's just that smooth metal surface, and the adhesive would bond really well to that surface. And I just like the idea of having a rotating mural. So it doesn't grow old, it's, changing enough where it feels pretty fresh. So there was this location. Then I also thought about the library. So there's, for the Hello Neighbor project, if you'll remember, those were done on a brick surface. And I love that you could see the texture of the brick through the vinyl. And I don't know if other people have the opposite feeling about it, but I thought that the library, it's just, there's a lot of surface there, and you could do some really cool vignettes on the surface of the brick. And you can see kind of on the side here, there's these little kind of peekaboo areas where you could really do a kind of a cluster of applications. So like it does have impact. Like if you were to drive by, you definitely notice it. And it could be something related to activities of library. It could be like historic authors, writers, poets. I mean, there's so many directions you could go. So that's something to chew on. There's also this location, which is across the way where the farmer's market is in the parking lot. And this is like the bike corral. It's a little bit of a rough spot right now. We do get a lot of people kind of hanging out underneath there. So I'm sort of on the fence about this being a good location. It could actually work to improve. I'm not going to say blight, but it could improve visibility and kind of activity here. But it also could draw attention that we don't necessarily want, or, you know, might not be well visited because people are not really wanting to go hang out there. So I just want to enter those considerations. Here's the Jersey barriers. Everybody knows what a Jersey barrier looks like. They're not the not the sexiest things. But I mean, there was a lot of commentary about like, why, you know, couldn't you just paint them? Couldn't you just do something colorful? And so when Councillor Hassan had said, well, could we do something temporary? That's kind of, I took pause. I was like, maybe we could. But I wouldn't want to go for it unless I had support. And then I just wanted to show some images of wheat paste. And they work really well in the urban context and on a variety of surfaces. And they're really pretty easy to clean, and because it's just, I mean, it's just gluten, it's just a wheat that binds them. So whenever you get a pressure washer and you get out there and it just comes right off. But without that, like in just regular kind of wet climate conditions, they hang on pretty well. They do tend to weather a little bit over time, but the whole intention is like they're temporary. So maybe that would be kind of a cool aesthetic. I wanted to show the brick over here on the left-hand side.
You know what? Those are really cool. And here's a thought. Both the environmental thing, the temporary, you know, rotating art kind of idea, and also if you get the right artist, you have an artist who actually plans for it to deteriorate. So as it starts to get old and parts of it start to, you know, fade or break down, it's actually part of the art to make it still look cool as it does.
Thanks, Lynn. You all, I'm so sorry. I just looked at the clock and it is 7:36 and we are over time. So this is just the last slide that I'll show you. Actually, it's the second to last slide. I just wanted to give you enough to kind of get a sense of the wheat paste. What I think I would like to do, I'm just going to propose this. Like, I would like to do a little bit more site scouting to see if I can come up with some additional surfaces. But I'd love to hear just quickly, like, does anybody else besides Lynn have a feeling about wheat paste versus vinyl? If we don't do the vinyl, are people on the commission gonna have heartburn about that? Do we want to do both?
I like the wheat paste, and I was about to ask if you had examples of it, and then your slide popped up. So that was really timely. I kind of like that, and I'm wondering with Shelley's comment about you know, her concerns anyway, if the wheat paste was a better application in your mind. Now that I see it, I really like it. And I like Lynn's comment about kind of the evolution and devolution of the art. And, you know, it goes up and then it sort of starts to devolve over time in a maybe a planned sort of way.
I actually had my tattoo designed for that because, you know, tattoos always blur. So I actually had it created so that it would have that in mind. You get a good artist and it's a pretty cool idea. And that, you know, the other thing about the wheat paste idea is the environmental impact piece. I mean, I don't know how long vinyl lasts, but it looks cool going on. Sometimes it fades. Even if it doesn't, it has to be disposed of. So then what? Are we standing behind an attempt at least to be environmentally friendly?
I think the whole idea of this is to give multiple artists an opportunity to have their art seen and for it to be in different areas. So it's not just one artist who's going to do multiple pieces, it's several. And that's been part of the communication from the art commission, because like Rebecca has done one, several of the art commissioners have submitted pieces and I really enjoyed having their art viewed by community. So
Rosier. Yeah.
So I do have a question with the wheat paste. Can you put color in it or is it really black and white?
No, you can do, I mean, so it's just printed on printed paper.
Oh,
So
cool.
you can print in color. In fact, the artist that, so you can see here, these are paper. These are printed paper. And then I think this artist has, he goes by No Touching Ground. He actually does hand painting on top of the printed paper and then wheat paste it. So it's actually like, it's not just a printed piece, it's actually original art. So you can certainly do color.
I like it.
Also, the wheat paste thing seems kind of unusual. Like, and I think that's kind of appealing to me, that there's something that's kind of different. Also, I feel like one of the problems for Beaverton is that we don't have a sense of like downtown, like creating that sense of place. And if you put a few of these around, then it would also create a sense of this is an area here. You know, when you scatter them about in this place would help us to have a feeling of connecting the library and the fountain to the art center. And we grow in that sense of place. So.
Wow, I love that idea. You know, I spoke with one of the people who was one of the longtime general managers of McMenamins, who hired the original artists to do the McMenamins murals. And one of the things that they did that a lot of people don't know is there was a real cat that was that lived at one of the McMenamins properties and eventually belonged to one of the brewers. And that cat appears in many, many, many paintings all throughout the different McMenamins properties. So I love the idea of having something that sort of gives a sense of place.
I agree. I mean, even just doing a series on the history of Beaverton, like different figures in the history of Beaverton, I think could be really cool with a city that is developing this kind of connection to Indigenous people, you know, the people that have existed here for a very, very long time. So it could be a cool way to start. I think I would definitely want to have some kind of thematic direction and then have artists respond to a call. I think, and then choose multiple artists, multiple locations. That's kind of my gut. But not so far apart that you don't actually see them. I mean, you can't see the presence of them together.
Laura, did you happen to look at, you know, City Park is doing the rolling opening of its space. Was there any space down there that kind of screams out for, because you were so close with that bike?
Yeah, there's another, so there's the restrooms that are like by the playground. Outside of that building is a brick surface, but it's not uninterrupted. There's like a meter like smack dab in the middle. So I was like, for a big mural that covered that whole span, I don't know how well it would work, but for vignettes like this, it would work really well. So you could do them all over, like you could do them at the library, you could do them at City Park, you could do them at the bike corral surface there. You could do them a lot of different places in that kind of general vicinity. Probably.
Or maybe an artist could incorporate the meter into the artwork.
Yeah, yeah, no, that actually happens a lot with wheat paste. It's done trompe l'oeil. So I mean, it's made to incorporate that and like use it as a real object in the piece. So yeah, I mean, that's why we ask artists to do it, because they're the best at creative problem solving like that. So
yeah. One day when we all get back together, I would love to have a play day on what that stuff is and how to use it, and just
that might actually be a fun activity, is to have one of the artists come and do a workshop, or have the commission come out and actually do the wheat paste with the artist, because it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
And kind of instant gratification. So maybe that's something that we can build in for commissioners and anyone that wants to do it, staff.
That'd be very cool.
Cool. Okay. Well, I'm going to come back with this a little bit more fully developed. I just want to quickly check in to say, how do we feel about doing a meeting in December? I'm a little bit hesitant to not have those Studio KCA designs in front of you until January, simply because they're on such a fast track that I don't want to I want you to see them sooner than they're like already into development, and potentially fabrication. Like that would not be, I don't feel good about that. So they're sharing their designs with the city project team and consultants on the 15th of December, which is a Wednesday. Could we do an evening meeting? Would you all be open to that? I know that the regular commission, we're not meeting, but would you be open to that?
I would.
Sure.
Okay, I'm hearing
Yes.
yeses, no no's. Okay, so do we want to say same time? Do we want to say, will 6 o'clock work on the 15th?
Yep.
Sounds good.
Okay. And that way it's kind of fresh, hot off the press. You'll get to see it, provide any comments so that I can get those to the artist's stat.
I think that's a good plan.
Okay. And then we did have another agenda item tonight, which is the Reeser opening, and I'm going to table that until our next meeting. I really want to firm up the date and make sure we're decided on the date, which tentatively has been scheduled for either the 12th or the 13th, but I haven't heard.
Of March.
Of March, yeah. And I'd like to finalize the date and then kind of work back from there. All right.
That's good.
So I will be sending out the meeting for December. I'm going to do that right after this meeting ends. So look for that in your inbox. And then I think it's time to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, everyone. So great to see you.
Thank you.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
Happy
Bye.
Thanksgiving,
Yes.
everyone.
Thanksgiving.
See y'all soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.